Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Adventures in Glass with Doug. That's me. Before we get started with today's sculpture, which is going to be really kind of cool, I do want to talk to you a little bit about some of the unusual things that you can find when you're thrifting, or when people find out that you do a lot of this glass work and they say, hey, I found this piece that I thought you might be interested in. So I'm going to take a minute to show you a couple of pieces that you might scratch your head and say, how is he going to put that together? But let's just take a minute to talk about some of the unusual things that you get and what you might be able to do with them. Give me a minute. Be right back. So let's talk about some of the unusual pieces that you might find or that friends might give you to work with. I was able to week or two ago find this piece at the thrift store, and it just called out to me. It's a fairly large round vase, but I think I can make something of it. It's a little squatty, doesn't have much of a neck. I'm either probably going to put a bowl or a plate or something else on the top of it, but it's good and heavy. It's a little wobbly on the base, so I don't know, I may still have to put, well, actually, I may have to put something under there to stabilize it a little bit, like another smaller plate or something. It looks like it's through and through green glass. It had a sticker on it that it was made from recycled glass in Portugal. So I think it's true color throughout rather than a film. So that's going to be an interesting challenge to see what we can make with that. Another piece that a neighbor called me up and said, hey, I've got this lamp made of glass that you might be interested in. Well, and it's broken and we don't know how to fix it. So I went to check it out and I thought, okay, fine. It's a Tiffany style lamp that this was the base for. I had to disconnect all the various broken parts of the lamp. So what we have is the shade and the base. This has a lot of glass tile that's been fastened onto it, a lot of which has been flaking off. Evidently the glue has dried and it's just crumbling. This part of the lamp had an aquarium bulb in it, so it was transparent where some of this glass is and the light shone through. That may have contributed to it drying out. I don't know. It's very heavy because it has all the lead, and I don't know, I think it's probably brass dragonflies and whatnot, but very interesting. But it's shedding all of its little pieces of glass. And kind of the same way with the rather heavy shade. You can see in the center it lost the center top. They had tried to super glue it back, but it wasn't holding. I think the problem is that it overheated. It had 3 halogen bulbs in it, spotlight halogens that were 45 watts each, and they get hot. They really do. So I think it just overheated it and kind of cooked the top. So I've got to trim out what I'm not going to use there. I'm probably going to leave the harp on it to help in some way, but I'm not really sure where I'm going with this. The best I can do is to keep it stored, propped up on another piece, just so it won't crumble anymore. So that's a challenge. And then this morning I picked up this piece, which I couldn't pass it up. It's a very unusual shape. I think similar to the other piece from Portugal, this probably was made out of recycled glass, and it's probably this kind of yellow-green color throughout rather than a film, but I'm not certain, so I'm going to have to be careful with that. Now when I picked it up, it had more than I wanted. There were stalks of palm leaves and some silk flowers and some corkscrew willow branches in it that I was not at all interested in. I've passed the silk flowers off to my wife to add to wreath for the front door. I'm going to have to get all of this sphagnum moss, this dry moss, out of it, and then carefully get it all cleaned out inside. But it definitely is an unusual shape that's going to be a lot of fun, and it would definitely be a base piece. And it'll support whatever I put above it. So we've got some pieces that at first blush you might say, what in the world, how tacky, what are you going to do with that? But the unusual nature of it is what makes it fun. So we shall see in a future video how I manage to craft these into interesting sculptures. Okay, and then we're going to come back and I'll start working on the pieces of today's sculpture. So we'll see what we can get into. All right, we'll be back. So we're back here in Adventures in Glass with Doug to craft today's sculpture. I've got some glass pieces that I guess we could say that it's okay to be square might be the theme of this. These pieces are either clear or have this nice aqua green color to them, and they each have a square component to them, which is going to make it an easy and yet a little different construction. Most of the time when you find your glass pieces, they're all going to be round, but occasionally you'll find some pieces that have square elements to them, and it's always neat when you can put those together. Now, I've actually found this is not an uncommon dish. I've found these either rippled or just plain several times, and I've made some things out of them. And they're always very good as a base. So we're going to start with that as a base, and then we're going to take off with that, going up with another piece, and I've actually found 2 or 3 in the past, this shape, not necessarily this color, that I've used. So we're going to probably match that against this and go from there. We have a square plate we can use, we have a square candle holder, and a few other pieces that I'm not sure whether I'm going to use those as toppers or not. They're all in the color range, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use those. So give me a minute and we'll get our stuff together and we'll create this piece for you. So we want to put this piece, match up the squares, put that piece on top. This has a rippled surface, so we want to make sure we get a good bead of silicone there. I should share with you that I'm trying a different camera. This is my DSLR 35mm camera on video right now. I'm trying to see if that will work out a little bit better than my GoPro, which I've been using up to now. I had concerns with the GoPro because it was not working well with my lights. I was getting light and dark bands through the video that I wasn't happy with. And then I had to make sure I had a microphone added to boost the sound on the GoPro, but turns out the first GoPro that I was using, GoPro 4, didn't have a connection for lavalier mics. Actually, neither did the Hero 9. So I had a concern about whether I was getting good sound. I thought, oh, well, I'll just shout. So sometimes what seems, oh yeah, this is easy, this is fun, still has a few complications. All right, we've got that fastened down, squared up. Okay, I'm not going to finish this in one sitting. I think I'm going to stop at this point. And then the next step is to take this square plate square plate that's not flat and put it on top. Well, since that's not going to play nice, I'm going to put my caulking on this edge, a generous enough amount that will hold that, because that has a rippled bottom to it. That's looking good. I'm going to let that dry because sometimes when you have too many pieces that are still wet, you get some movement that you don't want when you're fastening pieces together. So I think we're going to leave that for now. I will, I'll come back to that. But before we go in this pause, let me just back up a second and tell you that some of the key supplies that you're going to need to do any of these projects out of thrifted glass are, obviously you need to come up with your glass pieces and kind of arrange them and try them out before you start gluing them together. The second part of that is, after you have the glass pieces that you like, make sure you've got some adhesive. Now I use 100% silicone. I have a link in the description to where you can find it, but you can probably travel out to your big box stores, hardware stores, or the big box hardware stores, and you find this too. I use the smaller tubes rather than large caulking gun because it's easier to maneuver. And that's really all you need. Now, some people want to use or prefer to use epoxy, and you can do that if you're familiar with using epoxy. I would rather use a silicone because I find it easier to clean up, and if I have to reconfigure something later, it's easier. It's not quite as permanent as epoxy is. And however, if you're doing something that's one of the hanging totems, hanging pieces, the hook on the top might be something you'll want to epoxy on there. Okay, done a lot of talking. Sorry about that. But do subscribe if you're a first-time visitor. That way you'll get notifications about the next video as it comes up. Hit the like button. That does help me in terms of viewership. And you know, if you need to purchase some supplies, I do have a link to a lot of cool stuff that you can consider using in your garden and patio in addition to the glass. So give me a couple minutes to let all this dry, and we'll be back probably tomorrow to finish this up. Well, we're back, and it's time to finish up this piece. I have this other square base candle holder that I think I'm going to place on top. And although I have a number of other pieces that are in this color range, none of them seem to quite fit with this. This is the only one that made sense to me. So we're going to take those pieces, put them together. Well, I think that'll do it for this piece. I like the way it all went together. It's not terribly complex, but it just has a nice rhythm to it. Okay, I'll move that aside to show you a little better. And there we have today's glass sculpture. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. That helps me. Subscribe so you learn about the new videos that come out, and give it a try. See what you can come up with. We'll see you next time.